friends, it's Rosalind. Welcome back to our gardens and our tiny flower farm. We are out here by the herb garden that surrounds the chicken coop. Today we're going to be cutting some herbs. We'll be drying them to use in tea later this winter. And we'll be drying them on this little DIY herb drying rack. It costs maybe like $3 to make your own. I'll share in just a minute how to make your own. In last week's garden tour, I had shared all of the herbs that we do have growing in here. So today we are going to be cutting from the yarrow. It's behind the dill, you can't see it from here. We're going to be cutting from the anise hyssop, from the chamomile. I had an extra hanging basket just laying around that I was no longer using. So I simply removed the chains and the hanger from it and attached it to the wreath backer. And then I attached some paper clips to the wreath backer as well, because this is where we'll be hanging our herbs from to dry. And you could also use this little herb drying rack to dry your flowers on for later use, for crafting or whatever you're going to be using it for. Now that we know how to make our own herb drying rack or own flower drying rack, the first thing we're going to be harvesting from is the anise hyssop. I'm only going to be saving a little bit of the anise hyssop because this is a plant that the pollinators absolutely adore. So I just come in and I snip both of the flowers and the leaves to use in tea. Both of them are very tasty in tea. And I make sure that I cut right above a leaf node. Now, I am not a doctor or an herbalist, but we do like to use anise hyssop in tea in the winter. Like if we have a cough, just to soothe our cough. I wish you could smell these flowers. They have like a licorice scent and they also have a licorice flavor. You see how much the pollinators adore these flowers. This is what we've gathered so far from the anise hyssop. I don't want to take too much away from the bees, but I'll probably come out here maybe once a week, just gather more flowers from here. And I do have another plant growing right here. It's a baby plant. Hopefully we'll get some flowers from there as well later this summer. Next thing we're going to be gathering from is the yarrow. I have the yarrow growing right back in here. Hi, chickens. The chickens can't get into the herb garden. They're in their own little fenced-in area to keep them protected from predators. So yarrow, I had started this one from seed using the winter sowing method. And last spring I planted it out here into the herb garden. We didn't get any herbs from it or any flowers from it last summer. So this is the first summer we have yarrow flowers. Yarrow is more bitter in tea, but it does have medicinal benefits. You can always Google the medicinal benefits on it. I did cut quite a bit of yarrow, but I also wanted to leave some for the pollinators because this corner, I think this corner is their favorite in all of the gardens right now. They're so active in the herb garden. The next flower we're cutting from for tea is the chamomile. Aren't these so pretty and dainty? When I harvest from chamomile, I will only gather the flowers and then I will dry these on like a paper towel, or if you have a little screen or something like that, an herb drying screen, you can use or just dry them on there. Chamomile is a soothing tea. I'm sure most of you have bought chamomile tea already, but it's so much better if you're able to just grow your own and use these sweet little flowers in tea. Chamomile flowers are so small and they become even tinier once they're dried. But you want to continuously be harvesting from your plant, and that will encourage it to produce more blooms for you so you can get enough harvested for the winter months. We have quite a bit of chamomile harvested, so the next thing we're going to be harvesting from is the calendula. And I mostly use this flower to make salve with, to make a skin salve with, but it can also be used in tea. Calendula is said to have health benefits as well as skin health benefits. And again, you can always do your research on all of these herbs. And I just harvested from this plant yesterday for my salve. So there's not a whole lot of flowers to be drying for tea. But when I go to dry calendula, I just lay them out on paper towels. Or if you have a screen drying rack, you could do that as well. When I gather calendula, I will only gather the flowers because that is where most of the essential oils are, as well as your medicinal benefits. The last flower that we'll be gathering from for tea is in the cut flower garden. I didn't have quite enough room for this one in the herb garden since it is a vining plant, but it has been my new favorite flower. This is the first year that I've grown it. It's been my new favorite flower to use in tea. Butterfly pea flower. Isn't it just gorgeous? It turns your tea into like a blue and lavender purple color. It is said that butterfly pea flower, when you add it into your tea, it calms your nerves. But I just like to use it like for the color that it adds to the tea. It's such a pretty color. When you brew the tea with these flowers, it will kind of start out as a blue color. And then if you add a little bit of lemon or citrus to your tea, it turns it into a purple color. I also have the white butterfly pea flower growing to use in tea. I mean, isn't this flower just so pretty and unique? I thought we were done, but I noticed that the thyme could be cut from as well. Thyme, when used in tea, is said to aid digestion benefits. So that is what we are going to be using it for in our tea. And then we are just going to hang these upside down to dry on our little herb drying rack. Okay, we have our herbs gathered. We have our little drying herb rack. Let's head inside and get these herbs hung up. When I go to hang my herbs upside down, I will bunch them together. Try to make sure there's not too many in a bunch so they don't get moldy, so they can actually dry. And then I will just attach a rubber band around the bottom. And then the rubber band is what you are going to be attaching to your paper clip on your drying rack. The herb bunches all have rubber bands on them. So the next thing we're going to be doing is just simply attaching them to the paper clip. It's kind of hard to do this and show it properly to you one-handed. All right, there we go. First bunch is attached. Isn't this just adorable? Oh, I love how it turned out. So I will now hang these herbs somewhere where they're out of direct sunlight, where they get enough airflow so they don't get moldy, but also somewhere warm to help them dry quickly. Last winter and early this spring, when we started putting in our new herb garden, a lot of you requested to see how we are using our herbs and how we'll be preserving them. So I hope this video has been fun and helpful to all of you and encourages you to grow herbs in your own garden. If you already do grow herbs, I would love to hear what you're growing in your garden. Have an amazing week, friends, and I will see you right back here next Saturday. Bye.